Tonight is the night the endless political ads are coming to an end, and the American people will decide who will run their country for the next 4 years.
Tonight we present our final MUTV special for 2012 with a full hour of results, opinions, and updates from the world of social media. This is MUTV Election Night Special. Good evening, I'm Kevin Ellis.
And I'm Max Hess. Well, it's been interesting so far. Not a lot in yet at this point.
No, not a whole lot at the moment, but we do have a couple of projections that we can look forward to in the coming hour.
I think we're going to start off with a map here. So we're going to start off with a map that we're going to pull up just to show you what we have as of now. Obviously, like we just said, not too much at 8 o'clock our time. So, Kevin, what do you see so far? What are the developments you're looking at?
What I'm seeing is a lot of states that we already knew were going to happen. Illinois, obviously, is going to be Barack Obama's home state. He's going to take that. Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, those are all states that we know are going to go to Mitt Romney. That's the Bible Belt. Even though he's a Mormon, it's still going to be that area that he's still going to get those evangelical Christians.
Yeah, exactly, because he has a strong supporters, and we've also had some projections where we knew that Obama was going to take the seat and take his thing. So,
of course.
I think right now there's not really too many surprises, I don't think.
I wouldn't say. I mean, the only surprise that we could see are some of the swing states that we'll talk about throughout this evening. We've got Virginia and North Carolina. Those polls just closed recently. Ohio, the biggest swing state of them all, that's also a state that just closed its polls not too long ago.
Even though experts online are talking about, Ohio starting to swing a little bit more Obama at the point, but again, it's close, it's a swing state, it's big. We got to see what happens throughout the night.
Just on Sunday, we had polls that were showing that it was going to be Obama 48%, Romney 47% in Ohio. So again, this is going to be a very close race. It's going to come down to the wire.
So, Kevin, I just want to ask you, what do you think is going to happen within this next hour of our show?
I think in the next hour, we'll definitely be able to look and see a couple of states that we can call for the most part. As we said, there are a couple of eastern seaboard states that are just going to go to President Obama, especially in New England. We're going to have New York, which is likely going to go to Obama, and that is going to be 29 electoral votes. We've also got Pennsylvania. Now, Pennsylvania is kind of one of those states that it might push off past 9 o'clock our time, because it's also a state that President Obama is probably going to take just by a hair. But though Governor Romney was likely going to get a 49% margin in that one. So we'll see what happens in there. Again, Maryland is also a state that Obama's probably going to take. Maine, Vermont, those are all states that are probably going to go to Obama.
You just touched on, you said New York, and one thing we're really going to have to, especially later in the show, was the effects that Hurricane Sandy's have. I know we're going to talk about it later in the show, but you really got to realize that might have an impact on the election in terms of all the states' votes coming in.
And we were getting reports today that New Jersey is probably going to have their voting continue past today. That's something that we definitely have to take into consideration.
And it's understandable. A major catastrophe hits like that, and you're looking at electricity being out, and it's hard to cast all your votes correctly if you don't have the resources you need. So
$50 billion worth of damage. There's obviously going to be some kind of problems that take place on polling.
So we're going to have to look into that throughout the night. We got a lot coming up today during the show. We have some interviews with both, college Democrats, college Republicans, a lot of different things going on today. It's going to be a great show, I think.
I think so, too. A lot to look forward to.
Well, some students at Marquette find themselves directly affiliated with a political party, too. MUTV News' Carolyn Portner took a look at that.
In the 2012 election, the youth vote has become more important than ever. With such an emphasis on college students' vote, Marquette students and organizations are taking their role seriously.
All of these issues that candidates are putting on their platforms, they affect us directly, and we need to be really informed on what's going on, like health insurance, different things like that are really going to start to be personal issues for us.
Because I want to have an impact on my country's decision, and if I want to be able to say that I went out there and I did something, I voted for what I believed in.
It's a hard-fought effort. It took many years for us to be able to have this freedom, so we should definitely exercise it.
Political groups and organizations are hitting campus to spread the word about the political candidates. College Democrats and college Republicans are also working to emphasize the importance of active voters.
Being involved and active in politics is the only way that you're going to know about it, and the only way you're going to have an informed opinion about what you actually think and who you actually support.
Important because you got students with political views, so I mean, why not have them be able to try and convince other students, or why not have them get involved in politics, get involved in something they care about.
Leaders of these political organizations say they are driven to be involved in politics because of their support for their party's principles and leaders.
Well, I think we look at what the president has done over the past 4 years and the policies he's passed and how he favors and really pushes agenda for the youth. And I think that's what ignites so much passion is the politics of the situation.
I really enjoy the excitement I get. I just think it's fun to try and educate people on, especially on Republican principles and things that I care about, things that I think are important and like the right path our country needs to be on.
As Marquette students rock the poll on Tuesday, the college Democrats and college Republicans hope for the success of their candidates, but they also hope for the voices of our campus to be heard. Reporting from the Alumni Memorial Union, Carolyn Portner, MUTV News.
Obviously, a lot of politics going on campus here, too. Thank you, Carolyn. Now let's jump over to Kevin, who's in front of our big map. He's going to kind of analyze that a little bit. Kevin?
Thank you very much, Max. As you can see on this map right here, we've got a couple of things that we can see a lot of red, but that doesn't mean a lot of electoral votes. Now, as you can see in the upper northeast corner of the country, we've got New York. It's already going to be projected that it's going to go to President Barack Obama with 29. We've got Massachusetts as well. That's huge. That's 11 electoral votes. And that is Mitt Romney's home state, where he ended up taking the governorship for many years there. Also, a couple of swing states that we're also looking for. Over here, we've got Virginia and we've got North Carolina. Now, those are going to be some key swing states that tonight that we want to look towards. Virginia is going to be 13 electoral votes, okay? And North Carolina is going to be 15. Now, North Carolina, back in 2008, when President Obama took on John McCain, Obama only won that margin in North Carolina by 0.33%. George W. Bush, he took both the 2004 and 2005 election pretty comfortably with 12% votes apiece. So we definitely want to keep an eye there on North Carolina. Virginia, for instance, President Obama took that in 2008. Typically a conservative-leaning state, but in 2008, President Obama won by 6%. George W. Bush, 8% both of the years that he was in office. So those are two states that we want to look for tonight. Down in Florida, also something that we have not projected yet. Florida is going to be a swing state. We already have projected that it's probably going to be 49% versus 49% there in the popular vote. Currently, that's 29 electoral votes. That jumped up 2 from the last election. So it is a big state, and President Barack Obama is going to most likely lose that state to Mitt Romney. He made a big surge there late in the polls. We also want to take a look on over to New Jersey. New Jersey, we can project now it's going to President Barack Obama. It was one of those states that we knew was going to go. He had 15% in 2008. And now we're going to take a look on over at some of the other ones, Indiana and Ohio. Indiana, back in 2008, Barack Obama only won by 1%. And through the polls this entire election season, Governor Romney is looking to sweep that one pretty clear. Back in 2004, Bush had 20% of the total popular vote by margin in there. So now we're going to turn it back on over to Max, all right?
Well, Max, I just have, excuse me, Kevin, I just have one question for you. I know that we got some news in from Texas. So tell me about Texas. What are you feeling there? I mean, typically a Republican state, correct? See, oh, there we go.
That would be right. Texas, of course. It is a big state, 38 electoral votes. That's 4 up from the 2008 election. So as we see, it's very Republican. It's always going to stay that way. And as you see, President Barack Obama losing 41% to Mitt Romney's 57%. And that's 4 million votes counted, which isn't a lot, but that is 50% of the vote in. So it's looking like it's probably going to go to Governor Romney.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously we were talking about things that there aren't really surprises yet, and I don't think Texas is a surprise, like you said. Typically goes this way, and it looks like Romney's going to take that one this election as well, huh?
That it does look like. I don't think that there's any question that Romney's going to take Texas, or most of those belt states that we were talking about previously.
Well, one group that is definitely playing a large part is in this election is America's youth. People at age 18 to 20 make up 20% of all eligible voters. in America, with nearly 46 million youth eligible to vote this election. Hopefully y'all can exercise your right to vote today, because our generation can truly make a difference. Now we have our own Lisa Mihelich with an update from the Twitter world. Lisa?
Good evening, Marquette. I'm Lisa Mihelich, and I have your social media updates tonight. In our first segment, we have some journalists here. Our first journalist is Trent Moore. He is a journalist and digital editor for the Coleman Times in Alabama. He said, greatest thing about election night, free pizza. Totally makes up for the 12-hour day on salary. Hashtag party like a journalist. I think we all can relate to Trent here. You can unwind your stressful day with a nice hot pizza. I like your style, Trent. Moving on to David Carr. He covers the pop culture for the New York Times. He says, still a privilege to vote under any circumstance, and good for Jersey in coming up with a workaround. Hope it doesn't lead to mayhem later. I hope not too, David. And Tom Brokaw. He is a specialist correspondent for NBC. He says, here we go, a night to remember in American history, my 12th presidential election. That's awesome, Tom, that it's your 12th election. For most of us here as Marquette students, it's our first. So later, we'll see what some Marquette students have to say as their first time voting. But until then, Max and Kevin, let's hear some more updates.
Well, thank you, Lisa. And we're going to continue to check up on you and those Twitter updates, because, as we all know, Twitter is a pretty big deal nowadays, and even in politics, it kind of takes an interesting stance. So when we return, we're going to take an in-depth look at the political race for the Senate here in Wisconsin, because obviously there's a lot more going on than just the race for presidency. So we're going to take a look at that.
That we will. Stay with us, folks.